Welcome to this edition of Head to Head. I'm your host, Cam McKinney, and this is episode number 338 of the podcast. And on this episode, I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. Many football fans, including myself, thought that Aaron Rodgers going to the New York Jets was the perfect fit and it was going to turn them into instant Super Bowl contenders. And to put it lightly, that has not been the case. So why exactly did we all believe Rodgers would be the franchise savior? It's because we've seen it in the past with two of the best quarterbacks of all time. First, we saw Peyton Manning join his second team, the Denver Broncos, and he won a Super Bowl. Then we saw the exact same scenario play out with the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he won a Super Bowl his first year with the franchise. And because of that success, two teams have since made what was looked at to be similar moves. The Denver Broncos went all in on Super Bowl winning quarterback Russell Wilson, and the Jets went all in on Aaron Rodgers. What exactly went wrong for these teams? Well, the obvious response has been to question the greatness of these two quarterbacks. There are many people still down on Russell Wilson, who went from being a surefire Hall of Famer to a guy who might not get in. Rodgers is going to be a no doubt about it Hall of Famer, but this year in particular has seen him take a legacy hit. I still believe Rodgers is one of the best ever quarterbacks, but it's hard to defend him after what has transpired this season. He has to do with a lot of it. They changed coaches because people assumed it was for him. They brought in his guy, wide receiver Davante Adams, and it hasn't been successful in the lightest. Having said all that, it's not all the fault of these quarterbacks. These teams were not ready for these star quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks were joining bad teams, and what we've learned is the quarterback can be the missing piece for a good team, a la Matthew Stafford with the Rams, but can't make a bad team good. It's fair to say that both Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson walked into situations where both teams had bad head coaches. The Jets had Robert Saleh and the Denver Broncos had Nathaniel Hackett. I believe both Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson changed teams for the glory of it all. Aaron Rodgers knew that if he went to New York and won a Super Bowl as a member of the New York Jets, he would immediately be on everyone's list of the top three quarterbacks of all time. I think he would be up there. He would be up there with Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, maybe put in Joe Montana into that conversation, but Aaron Rodgers would kind of leapfrog some of the people on that list to be in the no doubt about it top three list of quarterbacks ever. And the same thing can kind of go for Russell Wilson. He was viewed as a winner with the Seattle Seahawks, and winning a Super Bowl with a second team would have cemented his legacy as one of the league's winningest players. I know now in hindsight most people want to, but I can't blame these teams for bringing in these quarterbacks. We were all on board, especially when it comes to the Jets getting Aaron Rodgers, but they should have built a better team around him from the start before going all in on the quarterback position. Yes, common sense says that Aaron Rodgers is a lot better than Zach Wilson. He was a huge upgrade, and he still is a huge upgrade, even though he's been disappointing. He's still better than Wilson. But all the talk was the Jets don't even need MVP Rodgers to be a good team. They just need a decent version of Aaron Rodgers, and that has turned out to be a total fantasy. The New York Jets needed Aaron Rodgers to be everything for this organization, and a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers has been anything but that. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm really surprised about how things have turned out for the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers. I believe that he carried the Green Bay Packers for years and years, and that was a team that never had a great roster around him. I thought he could do the exact same thing for the New York Jets. I was clearly wrong. This was a guy who was aging. They never should have put this amount of money into him. They never should have made that trade. They should have thought about the long term and building a really good football team. I also just bought into the hype that the New York Jets have really good individual players, which they do. Sauce Gardner is a really good cornerback, and Garrett Wilson is a really good wide receiver with untapped potential. I bought into that if you got Aaron Rodgers on that team, that he would unlock the other stars around around him, and that has not been the case, especially with Garrett Wilson. Rodgers not connecting with the wide receiver should have been something more of us should have seen coming due to the fact that he would rather throw the ball to guys he's known over the years like Allen Lazard and Davante Adams. I mean, Tom Brady had this same issue. I mean, he liked the veteran targets. He wasn't always great with young upcoming wide receivers. I mean, this was a guy who kept Randall Cobb around way too long. I mean, Aaron Rodgers loved to throw the ball to Randall Cobb. I do not believe that Aaron Rodgers loves to throw the football to Garrett Wilson, and I think this season is evidence of that. Aaron Rodgers failing with the New York Jets is way more jarring than Russell Wilson failing with the Denver Broncos, because the New York Jets made Aaron Rodgers the face of the organization. They let him make moves like this. They let him decide, oh, we should bring in Davante Adams. We should bring in Allen Lazard. You should do the things I want you to do because I'm still that guy. I'm still an NFL MVP caliber player, and the truth is he isn't that, and he has led them down a wrong path. And the reason the Jets walked that path is because they saw the success the Buccaneers had with Tom Brady, and that's a team that let Brady do whatever he wanted. I mean, the team brought in Rob Gronkowski because of Brady. They brought in Antonio Brown because of Brady, and they were rewarded with a Super Bowl title. But if that didn't work, we would all be looking at that situation as a disaster. But we're not, because the Buccaneers got exactly what they wanted, a Super Bowl. The New York Jets are nowhere near getting a Super Bowl, and they are dealing with all of those same issues. They let the quarterback decide a lot of things, and all of those things are part of the team's biggest problem. The other thing that Brady did that Aaron Rodgers is clearly not doing is aging gracefully. I mean, we just took advantage of the fact that Tom Brady was great in his 40s, and Aaron Rodgers is 40 and does not look half as good as he did in his prime. I mean, he is not the same old Aaron Rodgers the same way that Brady was. I mean, Brady was winning big football games into his 40s and looking better than 99.9% of the quarterbacks around the league. Aaron Rodgers is not keeping up with the other quarterbacks in this league. He is not even right now the third best quarterback in the AFC East. I mean, I would argue Josh Allen is better than him, Tua Tagovailoa is a better quarterback than him, and Drake May of the Patriots is emerging and playing better football right now than Aaron Rodgers. Now, if you told me at the beginning of this season that Drake May as a rookie would be playing better than Aaron Rodgers, I would have laughed in your face. But here we are. That's the reality of this situation, and this is what the Jets are dealing with. I do really wonder if the failures of Russell Wilson to the Broncos and the failures of Aaron Rodgers to the Jets will change how we view the quarterback position. Will teams still make these kinds of moves to get these veteran quarterbacks? Because right now, they're not working. Yes, Tom Brady worked with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but that was a very rare situation. I mean, in that scenario, we were talking about the greatest quarterback of all time. Now, at the beginning of the season, we all felt that Aaron Rodgers was in that conversation. I believe he has left that conversation due to this season. I still view him as one of the greats, and maybe, just maybe, no one else ever will be in that conversation. I mean, maybe Patrick Mahomes won't be playing elite football into his 40s. I mean, Drew Brees had a good season in his early 40s and then dropped off. I mean, Tom Brady was so good for so long and could have continued to play football at a high level. I think it will be a while for us to see a trade like this ever happening again, and one of the reasons why is because these aging veteran quarterbacks aren't really in the league right now. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is kind of last on the list. I know people were talking about Matthew Stafford being traded to the Minnesota Vikings, and that would be an interesting trade, but Matthew Stafford is not on the same level as Aaron Rodgers. I think he's a future Hall of Fame quarterback. I do believe that if you put Matthew Stafford on a really good football team right now, he could compete for a Super Bowl, but I don't think Matthew Stafford would get the kind of money and kind of control that Aaron Rodgers has had with the New York Jets, or that Russell Wilson had with the Denver Broncos. The real downfall of these kind of moves, bringing in this veteran legendary quarterback figure, is it becomes all about the here and now. When you bring in Tom Brady, you have to win a Super Bowl immediately. When you bring in Russell Wilson, you have a shorter window of winning. And the same thing for Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. There's nothing to look forward to in the future. So if you're not good in the moment, you have absolutely nothing to feel good about when it comes to your team. I mean, what are New York Jets fans supposed to feel right now? There's nothing good to feel about. There is no future with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he continues to go out there and play because the team is paying him a lot of money to do so, but there's not going to be I feel good about this moment, this will make me feel good about next year kind of vibes happening with the New York Jets. For instance, coming into this weekend, the New York Jets and the New England Patriots had the exact same record of 3-7. Guess who feels really good about the future? The New England Patriots, because they have a young quarterback who is improving in Drake May. They can feel good about next season and the years beyond. There is nothing to feel good about right now when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, because this year was the year you were supposed to be Super Bowl contenders. There's no way that Aaron Rodgers is going to make the Jets a Super Bowl contending team next season. There's too many problems, and he's no longer that guy. Right now, there are a lot of discussions about what are the New York Jets going to do about Aaron Rodgers next season, and I believe they have to do the exact same thing the Denver Broncos did with Russell Wilson. They have to let Aaron Rodgers go at all costs. You cannot waste another season with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, because as long as he's your quarterback, there are unrealistic expectations when it comes to that football team. You have to start from the very bottom and draft another young quarterback. I know New York Jets fans don't want to hear that because of how miserable it's been with young quarterbacks. I mean, Sam Darnold didn't work out. Zach Wilson didn't work out. You're going to have to draft a young quarterback, and you're going to have to improve at head coach. I mean, you have to pick the right head coach. Stop picking defensive first head coaches because it's not working out. Pick an offensive-minded head coach and develop a young rookie quarterback into someone your fan base can get excited over. I'm not sure I ever believed that Aaron Rodgers was going to turn the Jets into a Super Bowl winner, but I at the very least thought he was going to turn them into a respectable team. And that hasn't happened, so it's time to move on. You cannot go into next season with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback because it's not a good look for the franchise. He's not suited to be the figurehead of your organization. I mean, he continues to do these weird interviews with Pat McAfee at ESPN every week, and he continues to not take accountability for what's happening with the New York Jets. And part of me understands it. It's not all his fault. The New York Jets are a disaster of an organization, but Aaron Rodgers is at least 40% to blame here. I mean, I would go 60-40 when it comes to whose fault it is for the failures of the New York Jets. 60% on the organization, 40% on Aaron Rodgers. He is no longer an elite level quarterback, and he cannot win football games with the New York Jets. If I had to guess, Aaron Rodgers will not get a starting quarterback position next season in the NFL if he isn't playing for the New York Jets. I mean, that's the only chance he starts football games. He has looked really bad this season. His best game was against the New England Patriots, and since that game, it's only gone downhill from there, and the Jets have given him everything he's wanted. They've given him Davante Adams. They moved on from a head coach he clearly wasn't getting along with. I would be utterly shocked if Aaron Rodgers is playing for Gang Green come next season. It can't happen. The team needs to move in another direction. It is fair to point out that Aaron Rodgers is coming back from an injury. Of course, he was injured the first game of last season, his first game as a member of the New York Jets. You have to take that into account, but he has not recovered from that injury, and like I said earlier, he has not looked half as good as the Aaron Rodgers we saw play football for the Green Bay Packers. Yes, I believe the quarterback position is the most important position in all of football, but it's not the only position. situation, you have to have a good team. I mean, Tom Brady went to a good football team. The Buccaneers had Chris Godwin, they had Mike Evans, they added Rob Gronkowski, they were adding to an already good roster. The New York Jets clearly did not have the roster ready for a guy like Aaron Rodgers. Peyton Manning walked into a situation with the Denver Broncos where he had Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker, two elite-level wide receivers at the time. Wilson with the Broncos and Rodgers with the Jets walked into very different situations than that. I mean, Russell Wilson was given Jerry Jeudy, who has not lived up to his potential, and Aaron Rodgers was given Garrett Wilson, who has been overhyped in my opinion. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the teams that these two quarterbacks left. I mean, since the Seahawks got rid of Russell Wilson, they have made the playoffs with Geno Smith. And now the Packers have Jordan Love, who many people are super high on. I mean, when Tom Brady left the New England Patriots, the New England Patriots have been a bad football team. I think that says something about these quarterbacks and these situations. Tom Brady was a better quarterback at the time of him leaving the Patriots than Russell Wilson was when he left the Seahawks and when Aaron Rodgers was when he left the Green Bay Packers. It's fair to say that Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers benefited from the structure that those two organizations gave them, that the Seahawks were a really well-run organization and that the Packers are still one of the best-run organizations in all of football. I mean, the Patriots have been a mess post-Brady and are just starting to feel good about their situation. Developing a young franchise quarterback is way more of a sure thing than going out there and trading for an already established one, unless you have a really good team around that established quarterback. Again, Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl with a ready-to-go Denver Broncos team. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with a ready-to-go Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. And Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl with a ready-to-go LA Rams. While both the Broncos and the Jets were not ready for their veteran quarterbacks. That's the difference of these situations. And look, I've been a fan of watching Aaron Rodgers play football. I don't want his career to end this way, but I think it's going to end this way. I don't see things getting any better. I don't think there's a team out there that wants to deal with everything that goes with having Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, especially if he's not going to produce like the old Aaron Rodgers. I mean, which team out there is looking at their situation and going, we are only an Aaron Rodgers away from winning? This situation with the Jets proves that's likely not the case. Letting go of Aaron Rodgers would cost the Jets a boatload of money. I mean, that is his only saving grace, that maybe he'll get a third season as the starter for the New York Jets. But I don't see this situation getting any better because I don't think the Jets are going to invest a lot this offseason to win around Aaron Rodgers because their dreams of winning with Aaron Rodgers have gone sour. They're not high on the guy, and they're only going to keep him around if it's going to be about the money. If it's not about the money, they're going to let him go because clearly things are not working out between Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. And while most cases are the fault of the New York Jets, I think they are a bad organization. I don't blame them for what's gone on between them and Aaron Rodgers. I think it's both parties' fault. Again, I would go 60-40. 60% on the Jets because they didn't build a good enough team around him, and 40% on Aaron Rodgers. I do think he deserves a lot of the blame because he sold all of this goodwill. I mean, we were all believing he was going to be the difference maker because he had so much confidence in himself. It's the same problem I had with Bill Belichick in his final seasons with the New England Patriots, is that he was still acting like the old Bill Belichick, the guy who had won 6 Super Bowl rings, the guy who had all of the answers. So you believed in him until it became so undeniable that he no longer has the answers. And that's how I feel about Aaron Rodgers. He looks so inept out there at times that I no longer believe he has the answers of winning football games, that he's no longer a top 10, even top 20 quarterback in this league. Aaron Rodgers will still be viewed as a Hall of Fame quarterback, a guy who won a Super Bowl, a guy I still believe is better than Brett Favre. Yes, I'm going to still add that. He is a better quarterback than Brett Favre. I have enjoyed watching him play football, but I'm done with the Aaron Rodgers experience, and I think the Jets are soon to be done with the Aaron Rodgers experience. It hasn't worked out for both sides. And for as much as the Jets might not want Aaron Rodgers back next season, I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to be a member of the New York Jets next season. It doesn't really feel like he's having all that good of a time with the New York Jets. So teams out there, unless you're ready to win a Super Bowl right now, do not trade for an already established future Hall of Fame quarterback, because the track record on them hasn't been great lately. Thanks for listening to this edition of Head to Head. I'm Cam McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so please rate, review, and subscribe.